We are so close to the end of the semester. Here you see there are some practice questions for you using the square root property. I've posted the solutions for these questions on the class Moodle page. I hope you use these to help you get some extra practice in to help you prepare for the final exam. Before we look at our third method for solving quadratic equations, I want to do a quick review. Can you pause your video and square these binomials? You know, of course, that we're squaring everything inside the bracket. So we now have a binomial times a binomial. Some of you might have a formula for multiplying this. Others will use the process that we've talked about this whole class, where we see that x multiplies the second bracket and plus 3 multiplies the second bracket. Once we gather like terms, we have what's known as a perfect square trinomial, x squared plus 6x plus 9. Pause your video and square the last two if you haven't already done so. I hope you were able to get these correct. Just a reminder that that square multiplies everything inside the bracket. So this minus sign doesn't change. This is x minus 6 times x minus 6. Just like in this case, the plus sign doesn't change. We have x plus 10 times x plus 10. People sometimes get a little bit confused about that, though I'm not certain why. I want to look at some of the properties of these perfect square trinomials. They're known as perfect square trinomials because we've squared a binomial to get them. First of all, and most obviously, when we square the first term, it gives us x squared. When we square the last term, it gives us the last number in our trinomial. And in fact, it's always a positive because even when we're multiplying two negative numbers, we have a positive product. The question is, how do we get that middle term? Where does the 6 come from? The negative 12, the 20? Well, if you notice this 3, I have two 3's here. 2 times 3 is 6. This negative 6, I have two negative 6's. Two negative 6's gives me negative 12. We have 10. Two 10's give us the 20. We want to be able to create perfect square trinomials when we're only given a part of the trinomial. Take a look at this. I have x plus or minus some number squared will equal a perfect square trinomial. How do I create that perfect square trinomial? Well, remember what we said. We said that this 6 was 2 times 3, this 3. This negative 12 was 2 times negative 6, this negative 6. Oh, and this negative 6. 20 was 2 times 10, this 10. So I can think about this negative 4 as 2 times negative 2. And then I know that this negative 2 is part of the binomial that was squared. That negative 2 also gives me the final term in my perfect square trinomial. Let's look at the next one. We have a 22 in our middle term of the trinomial. This is going to be 2 times 11. We're going to use this 11 to create our perfect square trinomial, or sorry, the factored form, the binomial. It's a plus 11. And just like I also used the negative 2 squared, now I'm going to use 11 squared. Finish the next two. This is 2 times 7. We're going to use this 7 in both places. Plus 7 and 7 squared plus 49. Here, 2 times -8. Again, we're using that -8 in two places. X minus 8 all squared is my factored form. -8 squared or plus 64 finishes the perfect square trinomial. Make sure you understand what we were doing here when we were creating a perfect square trinomial so that you're ready to look at the next method to solve by completing the square.